What's up, guys? This is Dylan.
I am Quinn.
And thanks for watching. What is up with you? We have been not making videos for a little while, and we are back because we could just not watch WandaVision and not talk about it, even though we are super late to the party. However, we will be covering future episodes and even further going on because we're in it now. We're back. That's just a thing. Plus, The Walking Dead's coming back. You can watch our shows on that too. We're in the middle of snowpocalypse, so we're stuck in our homes, snowed in. So we're having fun talking about this, and we just wanted to bring you guys along and talk to you guys too. So hit us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon.
Ding.
So that you know when we get, when we release new videos. There will be more coming. Like I said, we will be covering more topics, more episodes. So keep on the lookout for that. And don't forget to check out that website at www.broken.pictures.com.
All right, I believe that is my cue, ladies and gentlemen. Listen up, and this is your only time I'm going to tell you. This is your spoiler alert. This video is going to be talking about the big bad from WandaVision. So if you haven't seen WandaVision, go watch all that now unless you enjoy being spoiled. You have been warned.
Boom. So this episode is going to be, I'm warning you, it's going to be a little bit lengthy because we are talking about one of the biggest conundrums in this show. We are 6 episodes in and nobody knows who the big bad is yet. So we've got some theories because that's what we do. We theory craft. And there's some obvious choices and there's some not so obvious choices and some big questions that we are going to cover. So we're going to do this as quick as possible. Just hang out and take the ride with us, and we appreciate it. So first and foremost, I think the obvious first one to talk about is Agnes, who most people are in agreement. She is Agatha Harkness. If you take Agatha Harkness and you cut off just Ag and Ness, you get Agnes. So she is not who she seems. Obviously she's on the board of townspeople, but there is no ID for her. In the comics, she is kind of like a babysitter for the superpowered, as well as a witch, who is from New Salem, Massachusetts, I think, or New Salem, Utah. Or anyways, it's the Salem witch trials, right?
Yeah.
So there's some obvious things going on with her. She keeps mentioning her husband, Ralph, which, are you trying to say something?
She was a witch in the last episode.
She was on the nose.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, so I'll go back a little, I'm getting caught up here. Salem witch trials, she keeps mentioning her husband, Ralph, who we've not seen on screen yet. Salem witch trials started on June 2nd, and they were believed to have been in communion and married Satan and all that kind of stuff. She mentions in episode 1 that her anniversary with Ralph is June 2nd, so that's a possible tie-in. And the brooch. Every episode she's got this brooch on. In the comics, Agatha Harkness also wears a brooch. However, in this last episode, she didn't have her brooch on. So that is a topic of discussion in itself that I don't necessarily know much more about. But it's obvious that it's not there, and she kind of reaches for it. What you got?
Well, super quick on that. I think a lot of things changed, and some of the things changed just because Scarlet Witch now has full control over everything, where I feel like before she just kind of had partial control, but then once she became fully aware, then she turned the barrier red and all that. So yeah. So now I think it's just that she has full control over everything.
That scene was before she turned the barrier red.
Oh, well then. Glass shattered. Oh, never mind.
So personally, I think that she is someone who is under contract to kind of she's the go between the big bad, excuse me, and Wanda. That she was sent by the big bad to kind of coerce Wanda into creating this, and she can have this and make a deal with, and that she's the go between. But I think like she's not necessarily the only reason she's loyal to the big bad is because she's got a contract or on her or she's there's some other thing that they've got over her head, and that's why she's in it. I think that she will turn out. I think she's turning and growing fond of Wanda and realizing how powerful Wanda is, and she could be useful to help break whatever oath or connection she's got to the big bad. And at the end of this, she's going to end up being a good guy, and that could tie into Fantastic Four, where in the comics she was the babysitter for Franklin Richards and all these different things. So. That's my take on Agatha.
Yes. Agnes. Yeah, another one. Well, I'll just go next. We'll just go with my pick. That's always going to be my pick until it's no longer my pick, and that is Nightmare. Just simply because.
Oh, that's the big. Okay, so you're going full on. I was gonna kind of dance around it a little bit first.
I mean, who else is? Well, I guess Pietro, but.
Well, okay, I've got a list. Let's.
You gotta.
Before we go into the big obvious picks, who is Dottie? So, she's a candidate for being somebody that could potentially be like Agatha or Agnes or the big bad, because in the episode where she first shows up in a big way with the garden party, Agatha tells, or Agnes, I keep calling her Agatha because it's a given, but anyway, Agnes tells her she is the key to everything here. However, I don't think that she is the big bad. Even though in the list of townspeople on the board, she is not on the board. They have not identified her. There is no ID for her. So she could still be potentially some other magic user that is caught up in the middle of this. Go ahead.
The reason all the other women, not even just because it's TV writing, like in the episode with the garden party, that Rambo and Wanda were the only two that didn't know each other. Yeah, they were from outside, everybody else from inside the town. But that garden party, and now with you saying that, and then saying all this, that was a coven. She was trying to be with a coven, and they're all witches. And this town is, and like they can't find out who they are because they're like centuries old. They've been around since the Salem witch trials, and they're all witches.
Oh, see that could be New Salem, like just a portal or something like that. Which in the comics, like they can't find New Salem, right? It's like there's a special place to get in and out, because that's another thing I forgot to mention about Agatha. Agatha. In the comics, one of the reasons, she's got a son. Her son in the comics is somebody Scratch. Even though it's been reported that that is a reference to Mephisto, it is not. It is a reference to her son. Senor Scratchy, the rabbit, Nicholas Scratch, is a warlock and a villain in the comics. So she is from New Salem, which is this fictional place, this like interdimensional portal, right, in the comics, and he creates like the Seven or something like that, this witch coven, and so Agatha is brought out, and she kind of goes out on her own to explore the world, finds the Richards, finds Fantastic Four, becomes their nanny, and kind of falls in love with the outside world. and then so Nicholas Scratch convinces the Seven and the New Salem that she has turned on them and she is leading the outsiders there, and has her brought back and killed eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually. So yeah, but then like the Reed Richards and them go to rescue her, and then convince them that they didn't even know about New Salem beforehand because Nicholas Scratch brought them there because they were trying to find Agatha. So there's a huge tie-in right there with it being the Coven thing. Like that starts to make sense, and I didn't think about that. If Dottie is like one of the heads of the Coven, because we know she's a significant figure because her casting had to be approved by Kevin Feige. So she's somebody. Yeah. So she's somebody. She could be. I don't think necessarily that she's Clee, which is Doctor Strange's girlfriend in the comics, right? But there is another one, Moonstone or something like that, Moonglow, I think, which is another magic user that has interdimensional powers, like she can go interdimensionally. So that's kind of a tie-in there. So she's probably some significant figure, one of those two-ish, or some remix of them. The reason I don't think she is the big bad is because during the radio scene and when she broke the glass, she looked just as freaked out as Wanda did.
Yeah.
So I don't think she's the big bad, unless she was just playing along.
No. So there are more powerful forces at work.
Yeah. Also, she immediately after, even after she regained her composure, she was calling Wanda out, like, I've heard of you. I know what you're about, that kind of thing. So it's very possible that there's a whole New Salem tie-in here that I didn't even think about. So you heard it here first. Anything else you want to say about that?
Not
Dottie?
on that one. Nah.
Okay, so before we get to the big ones, let's hit on the Wanda. Okay, so there is a theory, prevalent theory going around that there is no big bad. It's just Wanda. Just like Monica said, it's all Wanda. Even though, back to Agnes, not her, but the other guy in the office that Vision awakened said her, and then it wasn't her, or he didn't say Wanda, even though Monica said Wanda and Agnes said it was Wanda. I think Agnes only said it was Wanda because she's trying to drive division and chaos between her and Vision, and that's part of the master plan with I'll get into it in a minute, with Pietro separating her and Pietro working together to separate Wanda and Vision, to create more chaos, so they can snack on her magic.
Yes.
So go ahead.
You go ahead, because mine goes off on a different trail, but still Wanda.
Okay, so the only thing that kind of flies in the face of this is that Monica said it was Wanda. I don't think Agnes is reliable to say that it's Wanda, so there's that. But the big prevalent theory right now is that Agnes is just kind of like a mediator, but the big bad is Wanda, and there's some kind of like Smeagol Gollum thing going on where she's got split personality because of her trauma, and that's why she seems to kind of snap in and out of doing things. Like she is like when she ejects Monica, she kind of snaps out of it and is like, what did I just do? And then fixes the house and then goes back to the babies. But then when Vision walks in, she's kind of, I don't know, it's like her evil alter ego kind of surfaces and steps in and handles business for her type thing. And I like that one, but personally, I don't know that, like, because there's, you know, the meme going around, it's like, isn't grief enough? Isn't that enough of a big bad? It's like, yes, it is. But as somebody who has dealt with different, you know, mental health issues and stuff like that, I'm totally on board with that. I wish they would discuss that. I think they are. I think we're having that discussion right now in the show. However, I think we have to remember that this is the Marvel universe and we are dealing with superheroes. And so there will be a personification of these different things, and not just, even though we're dealing very meta in a lot of things, I think that these villains will be personified.
Jump off. And also, this, I feel like the show is a jump off to what is to come next for the MCU. So there has to be. Oh,
Very
one
much so.
moment.
Yeah, very much so.
And my laptop's dying. I need to plug it in real fast. Okay, but my thing with Wanda is she got her powers from the Mind Stone, and which means she had enough power. I'm using the movie's logic to solve this. She has, so since her powers came from the Mind Stone, her powers resemble that of the Mind Stone, and they vibrate at the same frequency, if that makes any sense, which is why she was able to conjure up enough power to destroy the Mind Stone. But
even though they
something
kind of
like that,
resemble the Reality Stone a little bit more, but
yeah,
anyways, my bad. Sorry.
it's fun. But with her powers, like with her being able to destroy the Mind Stone, I don't think it actually destroyed the Mind Stone. I think she just, because you can't destroy something like that, it just becomes something else. And I think she became the Mind Stone for like a brief moment. But then Thanos, you know, turned back time, but that energy in there still, like that little spark of it still exists. And then for some reason, it got stronger and louder, and then this. And like all her memories and everything, it just created all of this from her memories of everything. And then going back to before, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to mention that scene that you're about to mention.
Oh, yeah, because you see her talking to the Mind Stone that we still haven't seen, that I keep going back to, because that's going to be the scene that probably makes or breaks everything. I feel like, unless it's just like a red herring and make me look silly.
I don't know, because they're saying, like, it was released earlier this week that each of the last 3 episodes will be about an hour each. However, it was released today that the next episode is only going to be like 38 minutes. So I don't know what to believe at this point. But if each episode is still only like 3, or if each new episode is 3 hours, then we're only about halfway through this series still, as far as time goes.
Yeah. But it, what else is there? Yeah, and just that alone, like, it's Wanda, but Wanda discovering that the energy of the Mind Stone is within her, which makes her way more dangerous and powerful than we could ever imagine.
Yeah. And not to mention, she is also a Nexus being that they haven't touched on yet, but that could possibly be why she is so key to Doctor Strange 2. A Nexus being in the Marvel Universe means that there's not other versions of her. She's the same her in every universe.
Oh, yeah.
And that she can tie, and that would, I guess, if they're crossing universes, that she could tie into herself, I guess. She's got that connection and that through line.
Yeah.
That also makes her a lot more powerful.
Yeah. Which, between between witch covens and Wanda possibly being the Mind Stone and
Yep.
everything else that's going on. There's a lot going on.
I know, and not to mention they have put their finger on the nose that she has not been called Scarlet Witch yet in the MCU. And Kevin Feige, when he was teasing this series at Comic-Con a couple years ago, said you're going to find out why she's called Scarlet Witch. So they will definitely dip into that, which is, I think, why everybody pretty much knows that Agatha Harkness is, or Agnes is Agatha Harkness. And maybe she's just got like a modern, I don't know what Agatha, she'd need to change her name, but Agnes.
Because
Either way,
she's
it's not really a
hundreds of
modern
years
name.
old.
Yeah.
If you're
she's
hundreds
several
of years old, you gotta hide that mess.
Yeah. So, okay. Also, another big thing, I guess, leading into the, okay, well, let's talk about Hayward.
You mean
Hayward.
Ultron?
So there's a couple theories based on Hayward. My theory is that it wasn't that Hayward, it wasn't Wanda that made a deal with the devil to create all this. I think Hayward was making weapons out of Vision, which is why they changed it to sentient weapon, and you know they're dealing now with AI and all this different thing, all these and nanotechnology, everything that Vision is made of that they've had their hands in for the past 5 years. That's what they're making, and they could be making Sentinels. They could be making all kinds of crazy things out of, which could be another whole big bad that they're leading up to. They could be making all these different things out of the tech that they're getting from Vision, which we learned in the last episode, Project Cataract, which is the removal of Vision, I guess, if you could say. Maybe they're creating an anti-Vision or something like that. Which I think I think that's a thing in the comics, right? Anti-Vision, something like that.
Blank Vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I mean, maybe that could be the big bad, and maybe that's how we see him going forward. Go ahead. You're raising your hand.
I think
There's a little bit of a lag. Sorry.
Oh, it's cool. I think the other side to it, I don't know if you were going to talk about or not, with Hayward is either being controlled by some version of Ultron, or
hold on. Before we get into the Ultron thing, let me finish my theory about Hayward. I think that Hayward, because Wanda came in and stole Vision's body back, I think she went there when she found out, because she snapped back and she's like, "Where's Vision?" And so she immediately tracks him down, finds him, finds out that Hayward is making weapons out of his body, which is not what he wanted. And now, which is, he's gaslighting her, telling everybody that's what she was doing. She's stealing his body and all, telling all them. So I think she went in, steal his body back, and then as she's escaping, so he doesn't get found out and get busted, because they did mention that it was against the Sokovia Accords. So it is highly illegal for him to be doing what he's doing. And I think so that he doesn't get found out, he made a deal with the devil. And that's when Mephisto or whoever sent Agnes to cut Wanda off, and they caught her in Jersey because she was leaving. She's leaving the area. She's running off. She got his body, and that's where they got stopped. And she made a deal with Wanda and said, "Hey, I can do all this, and I know somebody and all." And that's a negotiation was made through Agnes, and that's why Agnes is kind of like her guide through these episodes, and like leading. And also helping to fulfill what the big bad wants, in hinting at making babies, hinting at resurrection, and that's my thing. That's what I think. And Hayward is now. That's the only reason he was only tracking Vision, is because now that's as soon as he found out, he was like, oh, I got to go back to the office stat. As soon as he found out what it was, like this CBMBR or whatever it is, and now he's still trying to cover his butt and get Vision back and cover his butt and pretend none of this happened and just kill all the witnesses, Wanda, and get rid of Monica and Jimmy and Darcy and everybody that's getting in his way so that he can cover his butt, basically, and sweep it under the rug. That's what I think all this is. Boom. There's my theory. So, anyways.
A good old what you call it, government cover up.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the most likely.
There's another theory involving Hayward.
Yeah, the crazy one. Fun one. That Hayward is possibly Ultron, but I don't think he's possibly Ultron. I think he's being controlled by Ultron. And now we're about to get into part of it being what I think, my theory of it. And I only say that because.
Oh, hold on. Let me lend some credence to this not being so crazy. So there is a Marvel cartoon out there where this exact thing happened. Ultron was disguised as a human and was kind of like pulling the strings and doing all these kind of stuff behind the scenes as another CIA, FBI type person.
Yeah.
And then it was revealed that it actually was Ultron doing all this. And the skin peeled off and it was him. So,
yes.
Sorry. So he's
cool.
Not just being crazy.
But
it's established.
Like I watched Age of Ultron not too long ago. I don't know why. I watched that one like more than any other Avenger movie.
And they keep dropping it right after you watch WandaVision. They that's the one they suggest.
Yeah, that's the one they suggest. But Ultron's goal in that movie was. He was ultimately it made the human race go extinct so he could build an army so that he could fight what he knew was coming because he was created from the mind. Yeah, he was created from the Mind Stone. So I guess the Infinity Stones knew Thanos was looking for them. Don't know how that worked, but yeah. So that in and of itself, Jarvis.
Don't they kind of have their own will, kind of like in the comics, they're kind of like the Ring and Lord of the Rings, where they've got their own will. They kind of impress upon people.
Yes, Soul Stone more than anything, but yes, because there's an actual soul put in there. But that's a whole other thing. But yes, and so he was wanting to prepare the universe for what Thanos was trying to do, and Vision. He was making his body. It was going to be the body that ended up becoming Vision, but he had to change plans because Vision ended up becoming Vision. I'm saying Vision a lot. Mm-hmm. But I don't think after the battle in Sokovia that the one that got away that Vision was trying to destroy was the only one, because before Vision found him, he was just crawling around by himself. He could have easily uploaded himself to the internet, which, like a small little hidden program of himself that's tied to something else, could be just a hidden file underneath something that you just seem as normal, which could have been within Vision's regular programming.
Yeah, not to mention Hayward and them could have dug that up and trying to recreate him.
Yeah, or what they thought was Vision, but it was actually Ultron. The email that got sent into the hex that Vision was able to read, the fact that Hayward's only tracking Vision, and the fact that they were using Vision to... No, I'm pretty sure they were trying to replicate armor. I'm pretty sure if you go back to Sword, somewhere in the deep bowels of the building, there is an armor that does not look like it's not gonna come to life and start saying, "I'm going to destroy the Avengers," and shooting laser beams.
There is another series called Armor Wars coming up.
Yeah. So I feel like if Ultron's not somehow controlling Hayward by like threatening him, Hayward is somehow a version of Ultron, which he had plenty of time to create Hayward, kill the actual Hayward, and move himself up in the ranks. Sword is not looking just out into space, but also every now and again anomalies like the Maximoff anomaly that's happening in Westview. So Ultron being there, but not being the biggest big bad, the most present big bad is definitely a thing. Because my other main theory is that this show has more than one big bad going around at the same time. Because if Ultron is in charge, if Hayward is like an isolated thing, then whoever's in charge of whoever actually put up the hex is something much, much worse. Almost like they're out of your nightmares.
So before we move on to that, I do want to mention, as far as this Ultron thing, I think that is very possible, especially when they're digging into Vision and his programming and all that kind of stuff, because Ultron is in there, technically. He's in there. So if they're messing with all this 5 years, it's very, very possible that they separated Ultron and he got out. Even after, Vision burned him out of the net or whatever, at the end of Age of Ultron, he could have still come up with something or had a backup plan set up beforehand. But if anybody matches the personality of Ultron, I would have to go with Pietro.
Yeah.
The man-child thing.
Yep.
As far as like who he is and everything, that could also be one of the reasons why when we were following Vision, it was away from everybody else and we couldn't see what everybody else was, because if we're following a decay signature of I almost said adamantium, but vibranium, then it's very possible that the Ultron it has his vibranium body and is doing his thing now, and that's one. And Hayward is scrambling to try to cover up the mess he's made, which is release Ultron, and that also kind of explains why it would be TV shows, because Ultron is a giant man-child, and he just kind of, sources everything from the internet. And that's why everything is a giant meme and meta and all these different things. And and even if there is another big bad where they're crossing dimensions and he's able to see into that, bringing in other Pietro. But before we get into the big thing, I also want to mention that Pietro is another one who is a candidate for the big bad. We're going to explore that a little bit further in another video. Is Pietro actually Pietro? I think it's obviously not. There's a reason for that, and we will explore that further. I think he's in cahoots with somebody bigger, or is somebody bigger, which is somebody that Quinn's been biting to get to, chomping on the bit to talk about here.
Yeah. But can I say it now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, the other big baddest big is Nightmare, who is a famous Doctor Strange villain. As his name says, that's what he does. He brings your worst nightmares to life.
And he's also rumored to be the big bad in Doctor Strange 2.
which would make a ton more sense. Why you have to watch this show before you see Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
But the one of the things that I'd said like a while ago, back when we were watching the like around episode 3, like what is that Wanda, Nightmare, and now Coven. This somehow I don't know how the whole story would play out, but Wanda went to a coven. Coven somehow was dealings with Nightmare. Nightmare comes in. He makes this world trying to torture Wanda, but Wanda's way more powerful than he thought. She takes it over, but everybody loses their memories in the process, and she's slowly been regaining like awareness that this is going on. And he's been trying to like throw things in there to make everything seem like it's to try to bring the Nightmare back into it. And he was finally able to manifest himself as Pietro. And that's I feel like why Pietro was acting and saying some of the things that he was doing. And then the moments where she sees like Vision head smashed in, all white and gray, Pietro, bullet holes and all that stuff in them. I think it's Nightmare like seeing a crack, reaching for it, trying to break it open and take back control of his domain, I guess. But then she was able to push him back out.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I mean, his name was mentioned twice in this past episode.
Can't do that.
The snacking on your magic thing, like that's what he does. And for like Pietro even mentioned that's what he was there for, is to cause her grief. So I mean there's a whole lot of things going on that seem like they're stirring up trouble, and that it's creating more and more chaos and creating more and more division between Wanda and Vision, and that's as we go through the decades, while the family situation gets more and more realistic, quote unquote, and there's more chaos going on and all these different things, because that's what he's feeding on, is he's creating, and she's coming undone as he's feeding on her, and that's what that last commercial alludes to.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if I said it. I didn't say it. Like, what's the best way? Sitcoms are a fantasy of reality, and as long as you're not in reality, you can't have nightmares. So, what's the best way to hold off a nightmare? Put everything into a sitcom. And like you said earlier, like Vision and Wanda during Civil War and after, or when they were having their little rendezvous, I'm pretty sure they were just chilling watching TV. Or like maybe Vision's favorite thing was to watch sitcoms and try to understand humankind more, but then she'd be like, no, those are just fantasy. That's not how real life is like.
Mm-hmm. And it's very possible that's what she grew up watching in Scovia too.
Yes.
So as far as like the big bad, it could very, very, very likely or possibly be Nightmare, but there's also another big one that is, you've probably heard the name, everybody's saying it, everybody's looking around every corner seeing the devil, Mephisto. You've probably heard that name way too much, because it seems to be obvious. There's a lot of different things. As far as like, the devil's in the details. That's not all the only place he is. The whole thing with the kids, what is it? Raise Hell, Demon Spawn, is literally a callback to the comics, where the kids are literally like shards of Mephisto's soul, and it's all an illusion to trap Wanda and to use her power and to take advantage of her. And if that is the case, we're about to see some shit go down when she finds out that these kids aren't real. And that could very well lead into Doctor Strange. Or we're going to get some remix of Nightmare Mephisto as one character.
Or here's another kicker. Nightmare works for Mephisto. Nightmare was going to the Coven because he was going to use their magic to try and open up a portal to bring Mephisto here. But then Wanda showed up for whatever reason, also probably just hearing rumors, seeing if there was anything they could do to bring Vision back. He's up there like, okay, I'm going to try and do this. She's like, oh, no, stop that. I don't like any of that mess. And then that's where the collide happens. Everybody's memories are wiped. And episode 1. And then now he's gained his awareness back. She's gained her awareness, but they still don't know where the finish line is. So they're just kind of doing this dancing around each other until
it's all that's happening below the surface. It's like the actual battle is going on. And we're just seeing how it kind of plays out in the sitcom. It's back and forth.
And
Wanda
Vision still
definitely has some kind of control of what's going on. She was able to move the barrier of the hex. She apparently is the one that people keep asking if they want her to change things. Even though we didn't mention Herb, who also seems to have some sort of agency outside of his role, almost like Agatha. And so, I mean, he could very well be somebody in the Coven.
Yeah. Like, there seem to be those who, because, like I said, I haven't said before. I'm sorry. Herb asked Wanda a very odd question in the last episode, which is a question that no one's really asked her before. And it's like, hey, Wanda, is everything okay? Can I change anything for you? And she looked at him like, what? Change anything? No, I'm fine. And he's like, okay. And then he walked away, and then I saw what I thought was like red tendrils hanging off his jacket, even though he was Frankenstein's monster. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just seeing things.
I think it was just silly string, but, I mean, it makes a valid point. Nothing is beyond looking deeper into in this series. So, Frank could very well be another big figure where him and Agatha... Maybe this whole Coven is working together to try to keep Wanda, like, keep her under wraps so it doesn't explode and go crazy. And they're using all their powers and just realizing how powerful she is. And maybe that's what drew Nightmare or Mephisto or Nightfisto into this thing, because he saw that and was like, ooh, I got to have that. I need that. I'm going to feed off that.
Yes.
I mean, it's literally a shark. Like, there's blood in the water, and he comes running.
Yep. Well, I'm always gonna say Nightmare until it's not Nightmare. Yep.
All right. So, have we covered all that?
Yes.
Get a little bit deeper on Pietro here coming up.
Oh. Never mind. I won't do it. I have written down here that one of the big bads is the Mind Stone itself, but that's fine. We'll go another day.
Yeah, that might be another video. Well, after this next episode, which is like in a couple days. If I get these videos out in time. All right. So that's it for us. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe bell and our button, and also hit the little bell so that you know when we release new videos, because we will be releasing new videos. Stay tuned. Also, if you would like to sponsor one of our videos, or, just this little program that we use, so we can maybe just throw us a couple bucks every month so that we can do extra special effects on it, or sound effects and stuff like that. Or if you want to just help us pay the internet bill or whatever, then let us know. Send me an email, Dylan at that's DYLAN @broken.pictures. Also, don't forget to check out the website, www.broken.picturesno.com. And I think that's it for us. So thank you. This is Dylan.
This is Quinn.
See you next time.